Stay tuned to the end of this video for a word to our patrons. Hello everyone, welcome back to Let's Take FGO Wanted, the show where we let you know if you want to roll that 5-star. Continuing with our attempt to rapid-fire these Summer Wanteds. So, normally, in a normal format of a series of videos I've done 116 times, we cover real-life history or folklore, fate lore, mechanics, and more. But for these summers, we're streamlining the process. Normally, I do summers as, like, one big video, sometimes even including the 4 stars. But those videos do terribly, even for Wanted. They're, like, super bad, and nobody watches them. So we're trying to do, because there's 3 SSRs this year, trying to do smaller, shorter, faster videos for you. We're streamlining the process, and we're going for that. So that's what we're doing right now, and it seems to be going well. Thumbs up. Now, we're going to talk about new SSR Berserker Ibuki Douji, the summer version. She is not that old as a servant, so if you want the full story on Ibuki Douji, there's already a Wanted on her normal saber form. If you want, like, all that history and stuff, which is also why these videos tend to be more compact. So I'll try and cross-link that in the description and maybe the end card and stuff, so keep your eyeball for that. If it's not out there, yell at me in the comments and I'll fix the link. I won't ask you to go Google it yourselves, even though, yes, the YouTube search bar exists. I will try and streamline that process for you to watch that video. So let's just jump into it. So that means for history and lore, we're just going to go skippa, and we'll slide, much like a water slide, right on down to mechanics, because that's where we at. Now, I don't like to call my shot on Wanted and say pushed, especially since, honestly, all this year's summer SSRs are pretty good in their own ways. They're all doing different things that are fairly in demand, pretty good. But for a point of comparison, I must factually tell you that Summer Ibuki is a new SSR Berserker, as we mentioned earlier, and she comes with the highest attack stat out of Berserkers and the 3rd highest attack stat overall among servants, at least of the last time the wiki was keeping track of these things. And I'm pretty sure that's correct. That's very high numbers. So, yeah. Now, she is Quick Arts Buster. This is pretty funny, and I'll explain to you why, because jokes are funnier when you explain them. Now, in case you don't get this, Double Arts Double Buster is a deck that was originally strongly associated with sabers. A lot of the game's earliest sabers all had this deck. Some people still call it the saber deck. You probably hear me say that sometimes in Wanted, which is funny because Ibuki is now a Berserker. When she was a saber, her saber version is Quick Arts Buster, sometimes called the Gorilla deck, but the 3 Buster card deck is originally associated with Berserkers. Most of the game's early Berserkers all had that deck. So it's very funny that, I don't know if it was, like, really intentionally designed that way as a joke, but her saber form has a Berserker deck, her Berserker form has a saber deck. It's cute to me. Anyway, she has average hit counts and relatively low NP gain to start. She's 0.38, I think. You can see it on the screen. I can't because I'm reading off the script. But you'll see why the NP gain factor doesn't matter too much. Also, again, Castoria and Double Castoria exists. You can get a heck of a lot of NP gain that way as well. Now, her Noble Phantasm is pretty monstrous for farming. It is an AoE arts. It removes defensive buffs first, lowers their crit chance by 20% for 3 turns if they live, and deals bonus damage to enemies with the Earth attribute based on overcharge. Earth is a fairly common attribute. I feel like I do say that a decent amount, but honestly, I feel like out of the 4 attributes, I don't even know if, like, mobs have the star attribute. If they do, it's very rare. It's also the rarest servant attribute. I feel like human, earth, and heaven are fairly well spread out, maybe for mobs leaning a little bit more towards earth and heaven. But yeah, it's pretty decent. Anyway, it's a simple, potent effect. You're getting more patented anti-asshole technology by stripping defensive buffs first, and you get a bonus damage. That's pretty cool. Her first skill is a return to those summer charismas of yesteryear, very often seen on summer units. It's a 10 to 20% attack up, and a 20 to 30% crit up for 3 turns for the whole party. But also, summer servants, that's servants with the summer mode trait, including herself, because it doesn't say other servants, get a 20 to 30% NP gain for 3. Again, this is one of the reasons why the fact that she does have lower NP gain doesn't actually matter that much. You just gotta make sure to space out your buffs correctly. But yeah, fairly decent team-wide skill, which obviously is buffing herself. Second skill is a targetable 20 to 30% arts and buster up for 3, pretty normal for a targetable skill, but also it gives the targeted ally -1 turn of skill cooldown. So their currently skills will get 1 less turn on them cooldowns. And then the final skill is the one that you are probably expecting. It is a 30 to 50% battery for self. It generates 5 to 10 stars per turn for 3 turns, and also 3 turns of a huge star absorb buff. Obviously, busters have notoriously low star absorption, for the reason of Berserker stuff we will remind you of if you don't understand why Berserkers are so generally seen as very good for this. But they have very, very low star weight, but Ibuki is somewhat unique in that she's got 3 turns of this big buff. There are a lot of Berserkers who are more crit-focused who have, like, 1 turn of a huge star absorb, or maybe multiple turns of star absorb on a specific card type. Ibuki is just like, nah, 3 turns, big stars. Passives are Madness Enhancement E only, but still Dragonkind EX, so her Buster cards are very boosted, and she does have a passive damage cut for a little bit. She also has a special version of her Divinity skill, so it gives a passive damage plus, doing a little bit extra damage, but also instead of, say, magic resistance type effect, i.e. the just normal debuff resistant, she has a 20% passive buff removal resist. So I think in general, a little bit of, like, if it was 20% debuff resistance, that's more broadly appealing, but since you're going to want to use her to, like, build this very I don't know what I'm saying there, methodical strategy, the buff removal is not terrible. So I shouldn't need to explain to you, Summer Ibuki's pretty cracked. I'm going to explain anyway because, you know, we want some amount of watch time in this video, but, you know, we want to make mid-roll ads. But Berserkers are often ideal for farming because most nodes don't use extra classes. It does come up sometimes, but generally for free quests and stuff like that, if you're farming, they don't use extra class. And Ibuki is highly compatible with pre-existing systems of lubrification. It's a real word that I just made up. Anyway, Castor Artoria is going to provide huge buffs to NP gain and starting battery. Ibuki has some real good juice herself. She has her own attack, NP gain, and arts buffs for her NP, never minding that she does have buster buffs as well for follow-up. Plus, even if you get ads that spawn with defensive buffs, she gets rid of those, which means that she has strong potential in story or challenge content as well. But she's also a team player, so you can mix her with a single target attacker. Like I want to say, because I've been using her for years, Summer Musashi is obviously still very good, and in about a year and a half at this point, I want to say, she's going to get a rank up, which boosts her NP. It's bonus damage on NP versus Sabers. That gives her a very strong niche as well. But Ibuki is crazy tuned. Like, they gave her very, very high attack stats, and she has a trait damage. And also, if you happen to be doing harder content where, you know, you may get into, like, specific challenges, she removes defensive buffs, which is, like, really cool. Very useful. We hate defensive buffs. Now, for pairing for your actual team composition, it's pretty easy to see double Castoria. This should be fine for most farming, but don't sleep on your other art support. After all, Ibuki does have a 50% battery herself. Tamo no Mai can provide new buffs, which is always better for maximum damage output. She gives you NP strength or NP damage up, plus she has access to healing and skill cooldown reduction, which can be very good. Paracelsus is a very oftenly cited budget art support. He does offer a big guts and a big NP gain buff. And of course, Lady Avalon just came around. She has arts and crits buffs to throw around. And from all of these guys, we have several forms of defenses to pick from. And I want you to keep this in mind. If you're using Ibuki outside of a farming context, obviously if you're just 3-turn farming, you don't need to worry about enemy retaliation. But outside of that, since she has, you know, the highest attack for an SSR, her HP is not super high, and she basically has no defensive abilities. She has a passive damage cut, and her NP kind of sort of does crit chance down. It does a 20% chance that they don't crit. She's already a Berserker, so she's going to be pretty fragile through class advantage. So broadening your horizons to make sure that you're getting that full spread of hard defenses with most of your art supports is very good. You know, Castoria is really good at that, but Tamo gives you access to healing as a way to recover. Paracelsus has the guts, you know, Lady Avalon has her own invuls. It's all pretty normal stuff. Now for CEs, for craft essences, pretty easy to guess. She has a 50% battery, so you can use any of those CEs, Golden Sumo, Dive to Blue, etc., etc., etc. There are so many 50% starting CEs. They're really good. The game releases them regularly because they understand that we the players, really like that number. If you want to pick stats to focus on, depending on your own collection, because quite frankly, there are so many 50% battery CEs at this point that me actually, like, naming all the ones that are good, it's hard to remember all of them. But focus on attack, arts, or NP up, as in NP damage up. You're going to use her to wave clear. You're going to want to maximize your damage. And obviously, if you are doing double Castoria, or just one Castoria and Ibuki's own battery, you can skip starting charge completely. You can go with something like Black Grail or Heaven's Feel, like super maximize your damage. Any of your other standard CE choices for like big wave clearing units, you can do like Formal Craft or some other CE that like maximizes arts output, and then just go with no % charge, all that other fun stuff. Also, you know, we're not really getting into story stuff. You'll see her when you see her in the story. If you haven't seen her already, you should if you're keeping up on the time gates. But mechanically, Ibuki is a summer servant, so expect to see her as a bonus unit for all future summer events, and maybe some other weird places as well. But yeah, you're going to get some mileage out of this. She's going to be useful as a farmer. So, other stuff. Well, if you're going to run that Ascension, you will be lucky in that Ibuki doesn't actually use shells for her Ascensions, though she does need a few Oni Heart Lanterns, a few Oni Flames. But also, this is a right to art, so she has a costume, presumably because he just drew some extra art that they wanted to use. That will require 10 of the classic bones and stakes to accomplish. That's not on this screen, but you gotta watch out for that one. Now, skills do return to form. She's gonna need 24 shells per skill, as well as 10 more Oni Flame Lanterns, and other mats such as grease and oil lamps. Clay? But yeah, you're gonna need no shields. Keep that in mind. Now, for banners, as you'd expect, Ibuki is fairly regular. You know, we have access to 2 years of Future Vision from the JP server. She's going to be out in Arctic Summer World soon. She's going to get a summer rerun banner next year, and also she's going to be on all future Lucky Bag GSSR entries because, of course, she is a limited 5-star. Also, once again, this I will call my shot on. JP's doing a summer pre-release push for like a month right now. They haven't gotten to that year's specifically SSRs in summers. I would not be shocked if they didn't include another summer Ibuki banner. Like, Lady Avalon got a rate up earlier this year, but I could see a summer Scotty and summer Ibuki in that pocket. But yeah, that's what you need to know for our usual show. There it is. I'll be cheering for you, everybody, so remember, I'm going to wish you good rolls, and I want you to remember the eternal words, Professor Lava Hot. But with that out of the way, we're going to wrap it up. If you're watching this video on YouTube, like it. Comment it. Leave your comments however you like them. You can join our Discord. We've got a Discord. It's cool. Join it. We've got a specific thread for rolling if you want to post your rollies. Join our channel memberships for badges and emotes. Ring the bell so you know when we're posting videos and doing premieres and shit. And streaming. We stream a decent amount. Check it out. And also you consider, like I said, supporting us on Patreon to get access to this episode early and other fun stuff. And also access the audio version, downloadable, of our podcast, Let's Talk FGO, LTFGO. Because we do that every week. An episode is out now. It came out yesterday as of the time. Well, depending on your time zone, 2 days ago. Anyway, watch our podcast as well. It's all about FGO. We talk about new things as they happen, pre-release events, keep track of other news and stuff, answer listener mail. Check us out. Okay, I'm going to have a word to our patrons after the audio outro. Bye. Bye-bye. And before we go, I'd like to really quick shout out all our patrons, but especially Adam DeHart, Blacklist OG, Call Me Zed, Carlos Dragon, JDV9000, Just the Fae, Kaiser, Chris Starlight, Legendary Boss Hunter, Rise of Kenji, Rogue Robin, Sharvor, some guy named Bob, and Varian the Crow. If you like what we do and want to see us do more, consider supporting us on Patreon. Get access to episodes early and lots of other goodies, and it really helps us out. Thank you for your support, everybody.